Hi everyone. Today's question of the day is, are you the oldest child in your family? And as the oldest child, do you feel responsible to take care of your younger sibling, to keep them safe and make sure everything is going okay with them? Well, for me, I am the oldest child in the family, and I sometimes do feel the heavy responsibility of making sure that my younger sibling is doing okay, and sometimes I feel like a second parent. Well, today's Reddit story is something similar to that. In fact, the OP, from the sound of it, sounds like he is definitely the definition of parentification. Let's get into it. It's from the subreddit, Am I the A-hole? It's titled, Am I the A-hole for telling my parents they need to place their next kid for adoption? My parents have 4 kids already. Me, 17 male, my younger sister, 13 female, younger brother, 12 male, and youngest sister, 10 female. My parents have relied on me heavily to take care of my siblings. Started when I was still too young to do much, but they put them in my room if a nightmare happened, and after each sibling was 6 months old, they started sharing a room with me until they were 3. Then it was getting me to prepare something to eat for my younger siblings. It was also staying home with them while mom went shopping, and over time it evolved. I help with homework, I make sure they're awake for school, I walk them to school since I don't have a car, I feed them, and most of the time I'm the one they come to if they need help with something. My parents will drop them off at birthday parties or friends' houses. They'll take us out for family experiences, but immediately expect me to keep an eye on my siblings. My parents provide the food and house and clothes. I provide the emotional stuff. I don't love doing it, but I got so used to it, it became second nature. I'm still the person my youngest sister comes to if she has a nightmare or is afraid of anything during the night. My parents learned they were pregnant again in February. They told me and my siblings last month. It was very much talked about like I will have the baby with me in my room from the jump and should learn how to independently change diapers and stuff. I made it clear from the jump that I wasn't raising their next kid for them. I told them I had more responsibility to my 3 siblings than I should have ever had, but I wasn't going to skip my own life to raise an infant from the start. My parents were shocked. They tried to get one of my younger siblings on board, but they said no way. They didn't want to be responsible like me. My parents returned to me with the topic and asked what the F they meant to do, and they never expected me to reject a sibling like this. I said I reject child raising another one of their kids, not a sibling. But also, I'll be out of the house in 7 months. I won't be around the new sibling as much, and the relationship might not be the same. I told them I don't want the same relationship either. I don't want to be a parent to another sibling. They made it pretty clear they don't want to do the actual child raising, and they're living a nightmare over this. When the topic came up during last week, I told them they need to place the baby for adoption since they won't have a good childhood with nobody wanting to raise them. I told my parents it would be the kindest thing to do if they refused to raise the baby themselves. My parents accused me of treating adoption flippantly, and they were sort of outraged I would rather they place the baby for adoption than for me to step up and raise this one too. Am I the a-hole? Let's see what the commenters have to say. First comment says, not the a-hole. I don't know where you're located, but if you are in the USA, I'll call CPS and get them involved. The OP does respond by saying CPS won't do anything. They were called before and came to talk to us and did nothing. They didn't see this as a big enough problem to do any continued intervention. We were all taken care of, and that was enough, even though the taken care of part was on me. The next commenter mentions parentification. Parentification is child abuse. That's what you have been subject to. Get out of the house as soon as you can. Get a job outside school hours and get out of the house as much as you can the remainder of your time there. Also, you'll want to try and get therapy and learn about normal sibling boundaries because your siblings will reach for you to provide for them once they realize how little is left at home without you there. It's not that they want to hurt you, it's just survival for them. And you'll have to be able to say no. That is no easy thing. So, as soon as you can, get therapy with the aim of learning appropriate sibling boundaries in a situation where you have been parentified for years by the actual parents. Move far, far away for a few years, not the a-hole. Call child services and tell them about your situation and what can be done if your parents won't shut up. Hell, tell your parents that your next move, if they don't shut up about it, and explain it to them that once Child Protective Services are aware of the situation, follow-up is guaranteed after the birth of the child when you won't be there. The OP responds by saying, I can do it knowing that I can still be there for my siblings over the phone and they can visit me, but I won't be forced to do it anymore. Maybe that's how CPS actually does something this time, or maybe not. But I know I'll be giving up so much of my life if I stay. I'll never get to be young and just have fun. CPS was already called on us before, and they didn't intervene, so calling them again won't help. Another commenter says, not the a-hole. When they are both out of the house, look for your important documents, like your birth certificate, social security card, stuff like that, so they can't keep it from you as a way of punishing you for not being their live-in nanny anymore. See if you can move in with a relative. OP responds by saying, I don't have a relative to move in with. I'll be doing this alone, but I have a friend I can move into once I'm 18. I was able to find my birth certificate, but nothing else. Another commenter says, not the a-hole, but do you have a trusted adult you can talk to about this? A teacher, coach, or school counselor? I see lots of folks telling you to get out of there, but that's not easy to do when you are financially dependent on your parents. OP responds, I already talked to a teacher before. It doesn't help to keep talking because they can't provide more help than they tried already. Oh, that's so sad. Another commenter says, not the a-hole. I feel bad for your 13-year-old sister. You know she is next in line for this parentification stuff. OP says, I think she'll just refuse and they might all end up in foster care as a result. I cannot see my sister doing any of the stuff I did, like at all. She doesn't have much of a relationship with our parents to fear consequences or anything. Another commenter says, they don't like kids, can't or won't raise them, avoid kids, and weren't all that nice to you and your siblings, but they got pregnant intentionally so you can raise the child? What's the bottom line? Why did they want to have another baby? The OP responds, they didn't. This baby was very much unplanned and unwanted from the start, but they figured I'll do the hard part for them. Another commenter says, not the a-hole. Hi, OP. In your situation, I was younger sibling, and let me tell you now that your hard work will pay off in the future in terms of the relationship with your other siblings. You said you'll be out of the house in 7 months. I'm very excited for you. Will you be permanently moving out? Leaving your parents to deal with doing the actual parenting part of the job is the best thing you can do in this situation. If they're not willing to put the baby up for adoption, then they quickly have to adjust to actually being parents. It might suck for your younger siblings at the start, but eventually they will mature in the same way you were prematurely forced to and will be able to sympathize with you sooner. I really wish you good luck. OP responds, yes, I'll be moving out forever. There is nothing that can make me move back in or live with my parents again. Homelessness sounds better then. And I don't say that lightly because I know a friend of mine used to be homeless with his family. But it's true. I don't want to get sucked back in by my parents. Another commenter says, you're absolutely not the a-hole. But out of curiosity, what on earth are your parents doing that requires you to take on so much of the care of your siblings? OP says, they don't like doing it. That's why. Wow, that's a very lame excuse. Another commenter says, what the heck do your parents actually do in the way of parenting? OP responds, take them places is about it. Just not to school. That's on me. And one final comment. The commenter writes, not the a-hole. Speak up to your grandparents and uncles and aunts and shame them into actually being parents. But no matter what, do not become the parent. Good for you for sticking up for yourself. OP responds, I don't have extended family to speak up to. Not that I think it would do much, but nobody will be able to convince them to step up unless they suddenly want to, which isn't going to happen. Wow, this story is so sad. The OP is going through so much at the age of 17. In a way, I'm glad that he's going to get out of this horrible, toxic situation. And I do feel bad for the younger siblings because they're stuck with what you would call parents, but they're not really parents. They're more like the people who brought them to this world. And, it's so sad that the younger siblings have to suffer in the hands of these so-called parents. And I hope that their situation does get better and that all the siblings will get therapy and hopefully grow up to be decent human beings and not be anything like their parents. Anyways, I would love to know what you guys think of the situation. So please leave it in a comment and make sure to continue to like and subscribe. I'll see you later.